He was here the last time I was here. Well, that was two. No, he's not, he resigned.
Oh, I was like,
Oh, that's the last name?
yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
we get mixed up all the time.
totally.
Sometimes I'll wear glasses to confuse people. Who is it? Which one is it?
That's me.
Do other stuff, and things like yes. Hey. How are you? Nice to see you.
You got, I like your variety.
How you doing?
Yeah, well, good. Little sweet, little protein, a little.
I don't do well without something.
Yeah, I'm all about the snack cheese. That was my snack I left on the counter.
Hi, Bailey.
Hi there.
Hey Kaylee, thank you for making it today. I know you're not feeling the greatest.
I'm not, but I'm here. Nice to
You're-
see you all.
Thank you.
All right, it is 12:15. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Welcome to the monthly Behavioral Health Board meeting. We are the advisory board for the Board of Supervisors. We hold this meeting on the fourth Thursday of each month, and it runs from 12:15 until 2:15. We meet in person at 507 F Frank Street in Eureka. This is a public meeting and everyone is invited to attend. Members of the public may participate remotely. The minutes and agenda can be found by searching online, Humboldt County Behavioral Health Board. We provide time for public comments early on the agenda. Public comments need to be limited to 3 minutes and pertain to matters related to behavioral health. We ask you to make your comment in a respectful manner. Please note this meeting is. Please contact me or any of the Behavioral Health Board members if you have questions about our work as a board. With that, Joe, will you do the roll call, please?
John Berger. Here. Marguerite Story Baker.
Here.
Bob Marty.
Here.
Rafael DiCaprio.
Here.
John Montana.
Here.
Emily Arroyo.
Here.
Richard Bass.
Here.
Kelly Johnson.
Here.
Jeanette Kellerman. Bruce Price.
Here.
Peter Stoltz.
Here.
Alex Childers.
Hi, I'm here virtually, feeling unwell today, so I decided not to join in person. I may need to leave early if not able to continue, but I wanted to catch at least part of the meeting. Hello.
Excellent. We will now go around introducing staff and guests. We'll just go in the room and then we'll go online. Starting with you, Mr. Paul.
I'm Paul McNankey, Deputy Director of Behavioral Health. Joe McManus, Executive Secretary of Behavioral Health.
I'm Oliver Gonzalez, Program Manager for the Mental Health Services Act for Behavioral Health.
Christine, that's in your communications. And Jeanette's here.
Hi.
Paul Lopez, Vice Director for Nation's Finest.
Lydia Pamela, respite nurse.
I live in.
Gary Cesario, executive care coordinator for the Life Discovery Project.
And now we can go online. You just want to popcorn, start with Alex.
Good afternoon, I'm Alex Oliveira, Behavioral Health and MHSA and QI Analyst.
Hi, Sharon Wolf, Legislative Analyst with DHHS. Good to see you.
Hello, everyone. This is Kelsey Reedy. I use they, them pronouns, youth organizer with HUTAC and chair of the Humboldt JJDPC. I'll pass to Ariana.
Hello, Ariana Kraft, a member of HUTAC, and happy to be here. Thank you.
Hi everyone, Melissa Nelson, patient navigator at Aegis in Eureka. And I'll pop it over to Wanda. I don't believe Wanda's gone yet. Or how about Alex? Or whoever wants to go.
Go. Thanks, Melissa. I think Alex already introduced themselves. I'm Kaylee Emery, Deputy Branch Director for Children's Behavioral Health. Sorry I'm not there in person, but happy to see you all virtually.
Everyone. Excellent. Are there any adjustments to the agenda? Seeing, hearing none, we will move on to public comments. Are there any public comments in the room? Anybody want to make a public comment? Online, does anyone have a public comment? All right, hearing none, move on to action items. We have minutes from the 4/24/25 meeting. Anyone want to make a motion?
Don't move. Second.
Awesome. All in favor of approving the minutes from 4/24, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. It's a passed. Now it's time for election of officers for 25-26. The members who are slated are Laura Montagna for chair, Kelly Johnson for first chair, and Sean Berger for second vice chair.
Can you move the officers as a slate?
Yes, please.
I'd like to move the officers, the slate of officers for next year.
I'll second. Awesome. We'll take the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
I don't.
Opposed?
I accept.
Speak.
Oh, is that a surprise? No, so no opposed, motion passes? All right. And now you can run the rest of the meeting now.
There we go.
All right. Whew. That's over. All right, you're in it now. Now moving on to item 6, the moment we've been waiting for, MHSA public hearing run by our dear Oliver. So excited.
Great, all right. Thank you, everybody, for having me over today. I really appreciate the opportunity. My name is Oliver Gonzalez. I am our program manager for the Mental Health Services Act. And in today's presentation, I'll be pretty much going over a couple of goals. Awesome. So we got 3 goals with this meeting. So I'll be going over the history of the Mental Health Services Act and its uses at the local level. I'm gonna also have going over some data that I collected throughout the year with regards to the community meetings that were held. And then third, but the most important one is I'll be opening the floor for people to make any comments, any questions, or share any input of our planning process for the MHSA. One thing too that I also want to really stress and highlight is this is technically our very last MHSA annual update. And what I mean by that is that starting next year, we're gonna have to prepare for something called the behavioral health services. So I'm still going over details around that and setting up a good plan of attack for that. So for this specific meeting, it's just going to be really primarily focused on what the MHSA is. And I'll make sure to reach out to y'all with like a calendar of meetings that I'll be hosting regarding the new EHSA transition and we're preparing behind the scenes. So just really wanted to highlight that.
And that starts in July?
Yeah, so the second we're done with this plan, all right? We're literally gonna start drafting the new updates that we need to do for the VHSA, and those become effective July 2026. So we are only being given roughly a year to prepare those new changes. Well, technically 7 months, because they want a draft due by March, but I digress. So again, those are the 3 main points that we'll be going over today, and really looking forward to whatever input or comments or questions you may have at the end of the presentation. With regards to input, I'm sure maybe some of you got this, and if not, they're up front here. There's a little packet with some information around the MHSA for you to take with you. The very first page is a demographic form, and the second page, I'm showing you guys the wrong packet. The second page has a section for comment as well. So if you have something that you want to go over with me that you didn't get a chance to bring up in this big group, by all means, please fill it out and just submit it by the end of our meeting sometime. And I'll make sure to take that into account for our planning process. For our people joining via Zoom, my colleague Alex Oliveira, who's taking notes of this meeting, will share a link to a digital copy of that demographic survey that also includes a section for comments in the very end as well. And again, I really want to stress that the survey and what you put is absolutely voluntary and anonymous. So just some little housekeeping things to kind of go over before we officially get started with the presentation. Everybody got a demo form? Good? Thank you all for helping out, really appreciate that. All right, so, and again, the comment form is one way to provide comments. We also have an email address as well. Your packets should have that email as well. And Alex will share that in the chat feature for people joining via Zoom. And again, we'll be taking notes of everything that is said today, so that way we can report back to Emmy, our behavioral health director, for consideration. So with that said, let's get started. Mental Health Services Act, as known as the MHSA for short, was created back in 2004 through something called Proposition 63, which was approved by voters in 2004. It created a 1% income tax on tax exceeding $1 million. Oftentimes, the MHSA is often referred to as the millionaire's tax for that reason. With that money, basically what we do is it gets collected by the state treasurer, and then it gets distributed in 2 separate pathways. So we have 2 green bubbles here. The first green bubble is 5% gets allocated to state agencies. So that would be like, for instance, the Department of Healthcare Services, California Behavioral Health Planning Commission, the Healthcare Access and Information, the newly renamed Behavioral Health Services Oversight and Accountability Commission, and the Department of Public Health, and I nailed it, hooray. So there's that. And then we have the bigger bubble, which is the 95%, and that gets allocated to all 58 counties within California using a really fancy formula that takes into account population density. So we can imagine, like, for instance, LA County gets a really big chunk of their proportion because they have a really big population. So just kind of like something to keep in mind. The MHSA is a really unique tool in the sense that it is very rare in the United States to utilize tax revenues for behavioral health services. The only state that does something similar is the state of Washington, which does a 0.1% sales tax. So I just really wanted to highlight that it is incredibly rare to use tax dollars in this fashion. And California is kind of ahead of the curve in that regard. So with this in mind, we have a couple of county requirements that we need to follow as we do our planning process. So first and foremost, we need to complete a 3-year plan every 3 years. Our most recent 3-year plan was approved June 27th, 2023. And then after that, we need to do 2 annual updates every year after that. So for us, this would be the annual updates for 2025, 2026. That means that next year, when we plan for the DHSA, we're technically doing a 3-year plan as well. So that really hasn't changed. Additionally, we're required to do something fancy called the community program planning process, which in layman's terms, it just means meeting with our community members, our partners, and making sure we're collecting feedback from everybody. So I guess, again, the MHSA, what makes it so important is that it's community driven. So here we have, I know having these things kind of makes it hard to see, so I do apologize for that. And I don't know why the chart got all messed up either. But essentially, what this is supposed to outline is we have around $11.2 million allocated in this current draft that we have of funding. And essentially, we have 4 separate funding categories under the MHSA. The big blue bucket that we have here, that I do apologize, for some reason the labels kind of went away. That is our CSS funding, community services and supports, as we call it. And that's roughly 70% of our overall MHSA. We also have prevention, early intervention dollars. That is roughly 21%. We have our innovation section, which is roughly 5%. And then last but not least, that little a yellow sliver is our workforce education and training, called WET, and that's roughly 2% with this planned budget. So the community services and support CSS section is something that really is designed to provide comprehensive treatment to community members. This is, for instance, where our full service partnership lives, and our FSB is one of our bigger components under our CSS. I really like to consider our FSB as a program that does the whatever it takes approach, where we want to make sure that people are housed, they're receiving aftercare, case management, and all of that to make sure that they're in a stable position. I'm not going to highlight every specific program here. However, I do want to highlight a couple of them. For instance, we have our Crisis Alternative Response of Eureka, also known as CARE. This is roughly $112,025, and this is kind of a new addition to our plan. It's supposed to be a partnership collaboration with the city of Eureka and a couple other city jurisdictions, and it's intended to provide a person and family-centered care to de-escalate and resolve crisis before more restrictive interventions are necessary. So really the goal is to prevent police involvement whenever possible. Additionally, we still have something here called a tribal support, which is roughly $87,000. And we're wanting to help local tribal organization with increasing their access and linkage to treatment by becoming an organizational provider. We're having ongoing discussions around this, so that's why it's included in this plan as well. As for our prevention, early intervention, this is where we have a lot of different services living under this section or programs. For instance, I'm sure all of you are aware of the Hope Center. This is our section that really focuses on access and linkage to services, suicide prevention, stigma discrimination reduction, just to name a few of those activities. Again, I'm not going to highlight every specific program here. However, one item that's new is the Humboldt Early Psychosis Intervention Program, also known as HEPI. And I know Dana did one fantastic job a month or 2 ago coming to this group and giving a really awesome presentation on that project and the beautiful work they're going to be doing. So it's $250,000 roughly for this upcoming fiscal year. It's with TAY, and it's a youth meeting the program criteria will be offered therapy, individual therapy, family support services, peer support services, medication referrals, and case management. So again, I know I'm not really doing the program a lot of justice describing it like that, but really awesome work that they're really going to be doing. And it's again for first episode psychosis youth. Now, I really want to highlight local implementation agreement under the PEA section. And the reason being, because our LIAs, they've been happening annually. And really, since the last time you've seen our plan, the main change that has happened is that we ran our local implementation agreement application period. And we selected out of the 20+ candidates that we received their applications, we selected 6 of them for funding. And I really want to share those 6 applications that got approved for funding because we're really excited for the community partnership and the work they're going to be doing. Just for reference, our LIAs are one-time funding, and they're meant to provide local organizations the opportunity to implement something new. And the award can be upwards of $24,900. And they must follow very specific regulations under PEI, such as early intervention activities, prevention, outreach, pretty much all of the PEI activities they need to be in consideration. So for this year, with the 6 applications that we approved were Black Humboldt, First Five Humboldt, Fortuna Union High School District, Humboldt Senior Resource Center, Redwood Community Action Agency, and Southern Humboldt Family Resource Center. And I'll kind of give a really brief breakdown of the projects they're going to be taken care of in this upcoming fiscal year as well. So Black Humboldt, their project title is called Community Wellness and Cultural Healing Initiative. And essentially what Black Humboldt will be doing is they're going to be doing a series of community outreach events targeting the BIPOC community. And essentially it's really focusing on access and linkage to services, outreach, and culturally responsive care. So I get super excited about this. And one of the things too that they really they highlight in their project proposal is it is intersectional in nature, meaning that although BIPOC staff is really the big core of that program or that project, they are also focusing on outreach for the 2S/LGBTQIA+ community, disabled individual, and people experiencing poverty, incarceration, unhoused youth, and elders. So again, really excited for that work and seeing them getting approved. The next application for First Five Humboldt, their project title is called Expanding Developmental Screening in the First Five Playgroups. And essentially what First Five Humboldt wants to do is they want to expand and develop their screening process for the youth. And essentially what they'll be doing is they want to contract with a infant, family, and early childhood mental health specialist to help facilitate this specialized training called Facilitating Attuned Interactions, also known as FAN for short. Really jealous of that acronym, by the way, because I feel like acronyms never are that cool. So yeah, so FAN training. So that's really exciting that they're going to be doing that to their workforce. Additionally, we have the Fortuna Union High School District. The project title is the Fortuna Union High School District Annual Community Resource Fair and Guides. And essentially, this is for the Fortuna area. This is going to be a series of 2 core events that are going to be helping students and their families and even the teachers understand more about local resources and providing them guidance on how to access those behavioral health resources. So from what they described and from what I've seen, it looks like it's a very central point for the Eagle River Valley region, where multiple other school districts kind of intertwine in those events as well. So again, that's going to be their primary focus for their student body. Additionally, we have the Humboldt Senior Resource Center. Their project title is called Increasing Treatment Modalities for Humboldt County Older Adults. And essentially what this project entails is the Humboldt Senior Resource Center wants to train some of their staff in lens neurofeedback. So which is a specific modality that kind of helps with trauma, and it helps with memory loss, and it helps with a couple other behavioral health impairments. So that this is something actually we've done in relation with the Bear River Band. So it's really cool that they're wanting, the Humboldt Senior Resource Center wants to do something similar, but with the older adults population. In addition, we have the Redwood Community Action Agency, RCAA. Their project title is probably one of my most favorite ones, Breathing and Tapping Our Way to Wellness. And what RCAA wants to do is they want to train all of their staff essentially in a brief work and emotional freedom techniques, also known as tapping facilitation practices. And once trained, their staff will provide education and training to all of their participants within the RCAA ecosystem. So again, they're really wanting to expand their service delivery to the people they serve. And that's really the core of this whole project. And then we have Southern Humboldt Family Resource Center. The project title here is Southern Humboldt Parent Project, Loving Solutions and Parent Support Groups. And what Southern Humboldt wants to do here is they want to host and facilitate 3 10-week sessions of their parent project, Loving Solutions, and Positive Parent Programs in Spanish, and 10 monthly parenting support groups during the academic school year. So they're really expanding a lot of their these meeting spaces to try and benefit a lot of their populations within Southern Humboldt. So those are really the LIA applications that were approved for this upcoming year. Up next, we have our innovation sections. Innovation is, again, as I said, 5% of overall funding, and it's kind of like what I just described, PEI, local implementations. Innovation is kind of like that too. It's supposed to be an opportunity for counties to utilize MHSA funding to try and implement something unique that hasn't been tried before within our community. For us, it's this specific program called Resident Engagement and Support Team, also known as RES, which is intended to really focus around case management and peer support, more specifically on aiding individuals from avoiding from becoming homeless or who are at risk of being homeless. So that's our REST program. And just like our LIAs, REST, our innovation projects have a specific time frame they must abide by. For our innovation projects, it's 5 years. So for context, REST needs to have a different funding stream by, I believe, October 2026. So because it was approved in 2021. So we just really wanted to highlight that time frame as well. And lastly, we have our workforce education and training category, also known as WET. And this one is really more intended to promote training opportunities and cultural responsiveness learning opportunities to our behavioral health workforce. In this round, we're wanting to contract with some cultural humility facilitators like Kaufman and Associates to help with us conducting more significant and more impactful outreach with tribal communities, as an example. So that's one way. Another way that we consider using it is the potential of creating a transgender care training that's kind of coming down the pipe within the state. So there's a lot of different ways in which we can utilize this category for cultural humility training. Additionally, this is something, although this slide doesn't really reflect it, this workforce education and training WET dollars are utilized to fund something we call the Relias e-learning platform, which is something we use within behavioral health to provide training opportunities and policy changes to our staff. So that's another tool that we use under WET. So now we're getting into the section of the presentation where I'll be going over community meeting data, more specifically around how I engaged with people, who showed up, and what was mentioned in these meeting spaces. So again, I know it's really hard to see, so I do apologize. For this year, we did a total of 11 meetings with a total of 115 participants attending in total. That's roughly 10 to 15 more people than we received last year for reference. Out of those 115 people, 56 of them, which is around 49%, completed a demographic form. So just please keep in mind that number of 56 because it's going to be reflected in the next charts and graphs. And for reference, last year it was around 30%. So we went up by around 20%. We're really excited about that. Here we kind of have a breakdown of the attendee of participants by geographic location of Humboldt County. So For the Eureka area, 43% of the respondents consisted coming from Eureka, 38 from northern Humboldt. 5% are unknown, so that would mean that they didn't respond that specific question of the demographic survey. Few percent were from the eastern Humboldt region. 5% from the Eel River Valley area, and the green 7% is from southern Humboldt. So this is kind of a chart comparing historically marginalized or underserved populations. So in orange, we have the percentages of the people who I got to interact with in my meetings versus the general population of Humboldt County. So for instance, I engaged the participants that attended in my MHSA meetings were around 5% were African American or Black. However, in the general population, that's around 1%. Same thing with Asian Pacific and Islanders. So that's 2% for our meetings, 3% for our general population in Humboldt, 13% on multiracial for MHSA meetings, 8% for general population, blue. For Native American, we were actually tied, so 5% in MHSA, 5% general population. And I know it's really hard to see here, but 9% for my MHSA meetings, a Hispanic versus 13%. I think it's 15% actually for Hispanic Latino for our general population here. So that's kind of, again, our distribution breakdown of ethnicity. Now, as far as attendee gender, so we have around 5% that reported being another gender, 29% reported as male, 5% as transgender, 7% did not respond, so that's unknown, and 54% as female. And then as age goes, so from the 16 to 25 age bracket, we have 27%. From the 26 to 59 bracket, we had 57%. And then for 60 plus or older adults is 16%. And then this is kind of a bar chart showing community members reporting lived experience. So out of the 56 people that responded, 52% expressed being diagnosed with a serious mental illness or an SMI. 70% shared that family members of or being a family member of somebody with an SMI, and 82% reported having a friend or someone with an SMI or knowing somebody with an SMI. So this is kind of now a percentage of community members who identify as a member of a special population. 9% identify as being a military or veteran. One of the caveats here is here says 0% identified as having a primary language other than English. And although that's representative on the people who filled out the demographic survey, I really do want to highlight that I did interact with people who did not have English as the primary language, so much so that I even conducted a presentation in Spanish. And people, for whatever reason, they didn't want to fill out the demographic survey, and therefore it was not captured in this chart. So I really wanted to just kind of highlight that. 30% identified as being LGBTQ, 30% under the child welfare experience, 43% justice system experience, and I believe it was around 60 to 70% of the experience with homelessness. And then this is kind of one of our final charts here. It's more about, with all of the comments that we received, we organized it by grouping them into a theme. So what I'll do is, I'm actually cheat sheet because it was kind of hard to see here. So the top 3 that we got here are expand and increase access to services. This was actually mentioned at 8 meetings and 7 different comment forms. Thank you, Henry.
We're just gonna see if we can do that.
Thank you. Crazy. I know, right? So, okay, so we have, and this was mentioned in 8 meetings in total and in 7 different comment forms for a grand total of 15 times. And that really kind of was more around expanding services in the more outlying areas of Humboldt County, like Southern Humboldt and Eastern Humboldt, or just expanding in general, more service delivery, like more SV beds and things of that nature. So that's really where that was captured. The second one being increased support for youth. This was mentioned 3 times in specific meetings and then in 7 different comment forms. And again, that was more about expanding services for the youth, such as more providers or more therapists within the school systems, more support for the 0 to 5 population, things of that nature. And then the third biggest one is bilingual and cultural responsive services, where it was mentioned at 4 separate meetings and 5 different comment forms for a total of 9 times. And that was really more people showing support of the tribal support that we are thinking about doing, but in addition, wanting to see other entities receiving the same amount of support for culturally responsive care. So that's kind of it there. These are kind of some of the next steps that we have going on for MHSA planning. So for instance, the input in today's, that we'll be receiving today's meeting, will be analyzed and we'll make any additional changes to our planning process where we can. We will report to our behavioral health administration for these considerations, of course. And then lastly, we would like to have our plan go to the Board of Supervisors, which we're aiming for June 24th, fun fact. And then once it goes through our Board of Supervisors, we will get the final green light and our plan goes into effect July 1st. So that's kind of the next steps for our MHSA plan. And this is just a graph kind of showing the overall planning process and timelines that were followed in accordance to developing our current plan, where we started developing it in September. We met with people all the way from December through really April. And then we were getting more information around Proposition 1 or BHSA in the middle of it all. And then having our plan go to the public hearing, which is today in May. And then lastly, having our plan go to the Board of Supervisors for approval. So really, that was really the core of our presentation. So really, I really want to open the floor now for any comments, input, suggestions, or questions you may have about what was presented today. Thank you.
Thank you, Oliver.
Thank you, Oliver. As usual, you did a great job.
Thank you.
At what point would it be appropriate to give you feedback about which of all the things that are already happening would be especially important to keep once you have to do SVD services too? Is it now or is it a little bit later?
You can definitely share that input now if you really want to like underscore what services or programs really like resonate with you as an example, especially in our planning process right now. I do admit though, because we haven't started planning just yet for the new BHSA transition, it might be a little too early. But if you have something that you really want to advocate for, by all means, please do so.
Yeah, I'd really like to advocate to try as much as possible to keep the HEPI program. I just feel like so many people do experience their first psychotic symptoms as young adults. And that program seems really vital to me to have to keep. So I would just want to note that. I hope that won't go away. I know there's not extra money for the SUD staff.
Thank you.
Any other comments? I have a question. So New Life Discovery Project does take in homeless that have mental health issues. And recently we've been having quite a few of them come in and we've been having troubles navigating and getting the help we need from SB. So we've been taking them to the emergency room to get holds put on them. And I would just love to know how to kind of navigate and build a good relationship with the mental health here in Humboldt County so that we can continue to help our community members.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I think part, as you had mentioned SB, I'm wondering maybe Paul, you can kind of help in part with that response.
Yeah, maybe we can meet right after this.
That would be
Talk
good.
some more about that.
Yes,
Right there. Home.
thank you.
Any other questions? I'm sorry, did I address your question?
Oh, yes, thank you.
I do have, so just so I'm very clear, this is the last, I feel like I should know this already, but this is the last year of this framework until we move on to a different framework that's being dictated by change that's outside of our control. How, are we engaged in like messaging that at all? I've been struggling to articulate like what these changes will look like, and frankly, I feel like I'm not the best person to do that. I'd love to point people to a better like succinct resource, but how is the messaging working?
Yeah, I really appreciate that. So ultimately, right now, what's happening here is we've been getting very inconsistent direction from the state in terms of how we're supposed to be implementing these new changes. Actually, they gave us our newest draft of changes to start planning for at the very end of April, as an example, right? So that doesn't really leave the counties a whole lot of time for planning. However, what really our plan of action is in the very near future is to release a calendar of meetings to really educate and inform the public of the changes that we're gonna have to make, including any budgetary considerations and all of that. So that is something I'm going to be working really closely with our behavioral health administration. And I'll make sure that this group also is being circled in with those dates. And I do intend to have those communications being agenda in this meeting space too, when possible. Because again, it's gonna be a lot of information. And right now, essentially what I'm trying to do is condense 400 pages into a more easily digestible format, which has proven to be a very big undertaking. So I hope that kind of answers your question.
Yeah.
And because, yeah, we are working on that actively as far as our messaging goes.
Yeah.
And we'll be communicating directly with programs like Hope Center as an example and such to really inform and empower our programs.
Yeah, I was feeling like I was struggling, like I missed something, like missed the memo with the bullet points, but it sounds like the memo with the bullet points is still coming, and there may not be a way to like make it that pared down for people, and I also understand that sometimes we just have to say it's like, it's more complicated than that. No.
I think something really important too is this has been kind of an ongoing conversation that has evolved over time. But unfortunately, it hasn't evolved over time quick and because we haven't just received that information until just very recently, right? So, but yes, I think that is something that we intend to be very intentional with. And we'll make sure to be informing everybody around the changes.
And isn't it still changing as we
So,
go on?
yeah, that is very true. Like, for instance, the information and guidance they gave us at the end of April, it's in draft. So it's not even final, but the state's telling us, you better start planning now. Because you won't have enough time otherwise. So it's kind of where we're at. Yeah. Good question.
Are they promising a non-draft form at any time soon or no?
They said around July, August.
It depends on the budget, right?
Yeah.
I just want to second what Marguerite said about HEPI. I think it has the potential to be a really effective, more upstream intervention for folks that end up in our system of care for long term, like in hospitalizations and CCT, needing those higher level supports. I think whatever we can do to keep HEPI funded, and hopefully we'll see really positive outcomes. I feel really hopeful about that program and think that that's a good direction.
I know that it would seem like we don't have a lot of autistic people in this area. To the outside world, but we do. And, I'm wondering if there's any grants available to have like some kind of, educational for staff maybe on how to work with autistic or identify it. So that some people aren't really in a different. Like I have a couple, one person specifically that has gotten kicked out of everywhere because he doesn't think like everybody else. And so, like if there could be some kind of, a grant that, helps people identify and work with people that think differently.
No, I appreciate that call out because it's really important that we continue pushing efforts to work with people who are neurodivergent, right? Because, and I know that's kind of a big cluster of different, not just autism, right? But it is something really important that we need to be engaging with. And I know that we have active partnership with like Redwood Coast Regional Center as an example for the youth who are autistic and meet criteria and such.
But if they haven't been diagnosed as youngster, they won't test them as that.
And adulthood, exactly. So, I'll definitely present that to our behavioral health director and see what we can say or where that work can happen. And if not within MHSA or soon to be UHSA, seeing if there's any revenue streams or anything like that that can help support.
Thank you.
I can share a resource that's already happening. So we have the Redwood Coast Start program that's recently started in our community. And so they work with folks with intellectual disabilities, including and also people with autism, but that kind of overlap with mental health. And so Wendy White, who's their clinical director, is leading monthly free trainings. And they're hybrid. So I'll forward the email to Joe that has the flyer for it, but that's a resource that's available for free to anybody.
Thank you. Good stuff.
Any other questions? I think I see some maybe in the chat.
Is there any online questions or comments anyone has?
There's nothing listed in the chat as I'm reading it.
Okay, yeah, there doesn't seem to be any questions in the chat. Any other questions? If not, what I'll do is after this meeting, I'll email you a PDF copy of the slides. So that way you'll have them for reference as well. And feel free to reach out to me with any other questions. What we'll be doing is we'll be accepting comments and anything else officially until 5 p.m. today, because after 5 p.m. that's when our public hearing officially ends, or public comment section. So again, yes, can I get your contact information? 100%.
Excellent.
Thank you so much, everybody. I really appreciate this journey. And again, thank you so much for your patience, your guidance, and for always being willing to really have me here. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Excellent.
Do you want these now?
I can get again.
Thank you again. Thank you. All right.
Well done.
Well done.
Well done.
We will now move on to communications. This is the time for our behavioral health board members to share information that they have. Questions, comments, etc. We'll start across the room. My good friend Vernon.
I have three things this afternoon. The Becoming Brave training is coming up May 31st and June 1st. That is going to be held at the Grove Community Room on Valley West Boulevard. Tomorrow I will be tabling alone unless someone wants to table with me at the barbecue for the Hope Center. If there's no objection about me taking the cart home so I can transport it from the house to the events without having to come to this building, that would be great. I believe that is going to be, I would like to start an ad hoc committee, a legislative ad hoc committee. If anyone is interested, please get in touch with me. And we'll start an ad hoc committee on what bills are on the floor in Congress, in Sacramento. Thank you.
What time is the barbecue tomorrow? I'm sorry.
10 until 2.
The Jefferson.
That's Jefferson.
Yeah.
Thank you, Vernon.
Thank you, Vernon. Thank
Oh,
you.
Jefferson, not home.
Yeah, it's Jefferson.
Jefferson, Park.
Kelly John.
All right, I just want to give an update on all things CIT. So I'm actually leaving my position at Europe Tribe at the end of next week. And so I will still try to stay involved with CIT, but I am passing the reins to Miss Laura Montana to be the lead CIT coordinator until my position can be filled at the Yurok tribe. So I feel very fortunate that we have a super strong CIT steering committee right now, the strongest I've ever seen it in the time I've been in Humboldt County, and I feel like I'm going out on a high note. Also on that note, there are probably more than 20 people from Humboldt County going to the CIT International Conference in August. 17 of them are funded through the Humboldt County Community Corrections Partnership. And Laura and I nominated Commander LaGrance from Eureka PD for the Law Enforcement Executive of the Year award, and he's being awarded that at the international conference this year.
Oh, good.
So I'm super proud of the work that we're doing in our community and that we get to show that on a broader scope. I will stay on this board as well as involved in other, I'm on the NAMI board and will still stay peripherally involved with CIT, but I will be going to the VA as a social worker in the HUD-VASH program, working with veterans experiencing homelessness. So I'll still be here in the community, just kind of shifting my focus back to direct service and less mental health focus. And so. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I think probably most of what I'd want to say would be later at the SUD committee thing, but I did want to just say how much I appreciated that you came to the last SUD committee and that, you know, that committee can really be helpful, I think, in the transition to the new and extra stuff that you'll have to deal with and get really good feedback from people who are providers and everything toward adding SUD to the MHSA stuff. So keep bugging that community. We're a good resource.
Oh, it's on the calendar.
Okay.
Education, I'll highlight a couple things that are exciting. So we have a growing mental health and wellness program in the Prevention and Intervention Services Department. We just hired a mental health specialist, a licensed clinician who was working with the special education local plan area. She's now with us. So there are 2 licensed clinicians as part of that program. And then a couple other licensed folks in our department. So we're looking at creating a training program. And so we're working closely with Cal Poly Humboldt, increasing interns and helping with placements of those in our rural areas. So that's exciting. Some of the work we're doing, some of you may be familiar with PBIS, but that's Positive Behavior Intervention and Supports. It's a multi-tiered sort of behavioral intervention and mental health framework in our schools. And we just have a lot of increased school participation. I could show that data at some point, but especially with schools that have been recognized by the state for implementation. So that's great. I also just want to say that there's another big push in education around something that's called UDL, Universal Design for Learning, that enhances student belonging by creating multiple ways for students to be able to show competencies opposed to just like writing or other types of things. So it's really looking at the whole child approach. And we've been creating model sites around the county, but Redwood Preparatory Charter School was just recognized as a model school for the state of California. So holding that up. So just a lot of good work happening around school climate culture.
Well, in the Veterans Block Off, Nations Finance had a fundraiser last weekend. It was well attended, generated good funding through the Game of Thrones. An annual event. And we have a stand down coming up in September, October. That we're in Ferndale. I'll bring flyers one of them. For the Native American side, there's the bear dance that they will be in Rancheria this weekend. That is a whole event. On Saturday.
I believe the Wiat tribe has their world renewal ceremony this weekend too. It's in David Bluff.
Yeah, it's not open to the public.
Oh, right,
It's very much on
Yes.
vacation only.
yes.
Just wanna
I'm
make sure
only mentioning
people-
it because, I know there's been some concerns about the kinetics race interfering with that, which is that's not the only reason. That's why it's on my radar.
Does anybody have any questions for the veteran community?
It's not an easy time to be a veteran right now. Actually, it's not even an easy time to be in the military right now. But it's not really a question, it's just a statement.
Absolutely.
I don't think it ever was.
Yeah, it's new wrinkles. Put it that way.
So, couple things, we had a really awesome substance abuse, board meeting. Last time, we had Aegis that came and shared their program, viewpoint on, how to get in, how to stay. I'm sorry, I'm not professional in my wording, and if I bother anybody, I'm sorry. They were really awesome. And, so the only other thing I really have to talk about is recovery happens, save the date, September 13th. Boyer Park again. The exciting news is the Board of Supervisors has been talking about the, nitrous oxide, and implementing some great exciting news for this area because, that's been killing people for a long time. And so I don't think I really have anything else. And we're just
A few updates. I just wanted to, so the Long Beach Substance Use Disorder Integrated Care Conference is open for registration on August 19th to 21st. It's seating goes fast or registration goes fast, so they're saying go ahead and register for there's no more spaces. I went ahead and just registered and I got gonna be going. Providence is allowing me to go, but I have to use my PTO, but that's fine. Yeah, and really exciting. We have been going back and forth trying to finally we made an offer on the new property for the potential new detox. They accepted. So this is the last two places, the planning commission said no. So this is a property that the planning commission directed us to. So really excited. And I will know more by next evening. So yeah, really exciting stage. So
I forgot to say that, Vernon and I will be hosting a table on behalf of the VHB at the Recovery Happens. He representing mental health, me representing more HUD, and we'll get literature out and put our table there. So that'll be good.
Thanks.
Natalie? I don't know who's coming.
Well, thank you for mentioning the nitrous ordinance. It did have its first reading, so it certainly has our support. It was just one of those where it has to have multiple readings to be enacted. So that'll be done on our June 3rd meeting. Can't imagine it would go any other way. We've had full throated support for it. So I think we're the first in the state to have a nitrous ban of one kind. It looks like Arcata and Eureka are looking to follow suit. So it's really exciting. And it also includes provisions for limiting shipping of nitrous into, so people can't even like mail order it. Now there are like restaurants can still use it for whipped cream, but otherwise there's it's pretty it creates some strict sideboards. So even like online shippers have confirmed that yep, once this goes into effect, just let us know and we will like no longer allow people to ship it. There's still the nonetheless, it's a big move, so very excited for that. On our June meeting, we'll also have the Pride Month proclamation, and if folks want to come out and support, that'd be great, because it's a weird time, and you know, already touching grief for flying the pride flag annually, so, you know, just always good to see a good show of support. And, when you think about intersectionality. So, I do write a regular column for the Times Standard that came out on Friday. I talked about mental health month, and so, read it, and gave some kudos to our, staff who did an incredible job with, getting the funding for the new Semper Veterans facilities. So, not to steal anyone's thunder, but I'm sure everyone has already probably heard about it, but staff will probably talk about it more, but, that was a big deal. You know, we are matching it with finance plans that essentially are, you know, long-term funding obligation as well, but if we hadn't applied, we wouldn't have been able to get that funding. It's capital dollars only, and it's available now, and don't know what it'll look like in the future. So it was a big deal to rally, redirect everyone's effort to getting that, and it was successful. I'm sure, hopefully folks saw that there were a number of tribal grant awards for behavioral health facilities and supports too. So that was really good to see the region got major investment there. For all the qualms that folks may have with these changes, you know, at the very least, we're gonna be able to modernize our facilities and expand, and really looking forward to being able to see that through. So our next budget hearings are, we'll have a presentation in the like afternoon, evening on Monday, June 9th. So it's a special budget hearing this year, because it was a status quo budget, where all departments got what they got last year, which, you know, status quo really, because costs always go up, means it's belt tightening time, and I realized that that's true for all departments. So everyone had the option of presenting their budget, because if it was the same as last year and departments didn't want to go into a lengthy presentation, they were not required to. So that the June 9th meeting will be those departments that want to share updates about their department and their budget, but not all are going to. So we'll be looking for budget adoption this month as well. So I'm sure everyone's heard it's, you know, just a lean time for the county, and that's the reality. So yeah, they answer me.
Hi, so I technically cannot give them this information.
You're not me.
Because she's not our patient. Right. But we do have the ROI and she is set to go. Okay, cool. She will be courtesy dosing starting tomorrow.
Oh, yep. There we go. All right, that's all I got.
Thanks. Virginia, I'm just glad to be here. Yeah, we're glad that you're here. I'll just report on mental health kickoff event on May 4th was excellent. The city of Eureka did this event. We had a professional panel, which was Stacy Eads, our DA, Emmy was there, doing a great job. Jamaica Bartz and Kelly Johnson. It was an awesome panel. The video should be coming out soon. And then we had lived experience panel, which was Joe and Lena Nagy, Wes from Crossroads, and James Fault from PDS. And then we had our main speaker, Joe Reed from Michigan. And it was a great event, educational event. And so we hope that sharing the videos from that will help educate people who couldn't be there. And thanks for everybody who showed up.
The only request I have is next year, maybe more seating. And more chairs.
Oh, was it full?
It was pretty, you know, I showed up with my group and they were like, oh, you know, they were sitting out in the lobby, but.
There were 2 rows in the front that weren't filled. But, and everyone has to have a seat next to them. So maybe we'll spread the chairs out, but anyway. I don't want to sit near each other. That's all I have. Yeah, there's nobody. Okay, reports, DHH director is DHHS director. Here.
I got a report for her.
Awesome. Thanks, Bob.
They're still in negotiation with the navigation center, so nothing new, report there. Well, DHHS is working with the city of Eureka on several projects. As mentioned earlier, CARE is one of them, so, contracting is moving forward there. And then, round 5 of the HHAP is in process, and, we're looking at being awarded 2.2-ish million for homeless services to provide, permanent supported housing for different projects. That's it from Connie. As far as behavioral health,
Yes.
as Natalie said, we're super excited about Prop 1 and getting that bond money. That's 43.5 million. For SV to be redesigned, is located down in between public health and the courthouse. So the plans for that are looking really nice. We're working with Boulder and Associates on those plans. So that's gonna really be helpful, especially for youth in the area that need acute care. They won't have to go out of county. We can treat them there on either in the CSU or on SV. The way that we're designing it, it's gonna allow for there not to be commingled. So really looking forward to that project. And we did our first submission. The timeline on this is really mind-boggling. So we were scrambling to pull together what was needed for the first submission. So I think the governor mentioned this press conference was on Tuesday. By Friday, we had to have plans and budgets in for the next 37 months. There's just all kinds of details. It was amazing, but everybody came together, planning and building, and everybody that's been involved in the CAO's office and was able to get things in order for that submission. So I'm super excited about that. The SB 43 steering committee is still happening, and it's been really productive. We're meeting monthly on that, and it's continuing to grow. So we're hoping for some good solutions out of that to help support going live with SB 43 in January. So more to come on that. Our MIST team is going to go 24/7 on June.
What?
Awesome.
Yeah. So that's happening. So we're excited about that. We have 2 contracts that we received from Department of State Hospital that equal about 27.8 million over the next 5 years for a permanent diversion program, as well as a community-based restoration program, so which we'll be putting out to bid for. So we're excited about that as well, what that means for our community. Because there's a housing component to that. CARE Act is continuing to roll out slowly. We're spreading the word and doing more outreach there. So those petitions continue to trickle in. And then lastly, just wanted to mention that we're involved with the residency program with Providence. So that's been good. The residents have been rotating through getting some mental health experience, both SV and as well as in the correctional facility and elsewhere. And we're also looking to bring on a couple nurse practitioners to host them for their preceptorships. So that they can get their hours towards psychiatric mental health certification, which is really nice. Most of the programs are really specific. They want acute care experience through the lifespan. There's not too many places here in your state that provide that. So we feel, even though it's a bit of a lift for us, we feel it important to the community to provide that, because these folks are folks that live here and practice here. So the hope is they're gonna love their experience and want to come work for us. So still hoping that that's gonna happen. And then that partnership that we have with Cal Poly has been really great. It's a great pipeline for new talent coming into the field. So our teams throughout the department have been hosting interns, and that's been a very good source of employment for folks coming out of high school, yes, but coming out of college. So we got a new batch coming out right now, and we're looking to scoop up as many of them as we can into clinician positions for others scoop them up. I don't know if Kaylee or if Jack's gone today, but Kaylee, do you have anything to report?
I was trying to think of what I could add, and I'm not feeling super well, so my brain's not firing on all cylinders. But I did want to share that I got an update recently from Sorrel Leaf that they've got walls and a building on their location. So it's actually getting kind of to the point where they're starting to do the inside. And so construction is moving right along, and they're still on target. I believe their goal continues to be early next year to be done with that and ready to get licensed and certified and get the program up and running. So that's exciting. I think maybe since we all last met, we've brought on our new senior program manager, Sonia Levy Boyd, and so that's really exciting. And we're just kind of looking at making sure that every program falls to our two senior program managers in children's. We continue to do a lot of work and have some success with minimizing sort of wait times or delays in services in children's, and I feel really good about that. So just wanted to share that here. But otherwise, I don't think I have anything to add. Paul had all the really exciting stuff to share with that SV money, so that's very cool. And thank you, Oliver. That was such a great presentation.
Thank you for being present. I know you're not feeling the greatest, so I appreciate you being here.
Me too.
Yeah.
Paul, can I ask you something? One of the things you said was, I just don't know what it is. You said there were two contracts from the state hospital.
Yeah.
One was permanent diversion. What is permanent
So
diversion?
the first programming we had was a pilot diversion program, so this is just to make that
Pilot program.
permanent.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, sorry.
I see. So I couldn't figure out permanent diversion. Thank you.
People that are either at risk or already found felony and competent to stand trial.
Right,
Thank you.
yeah. Yeah, there's a misdemeanor, incompetent component to diversion as well, in regulation that we're also, providing services for. But the state hospital one is for felony incompetence.
It's really focused on keeping folks out of state hospital and community restoration. Sorry. It's good stuff. It's good stuff.
Awesome, thank you. Lots of positive things, which we have to remember to tell all those naysayers. SUD committee update. Who's gonna give that?
We were just discussing it. No.
Did you want to give any more of an update?
Updates, let's see, Overdose Awareness Day, we're starting to plan that. Our second meeting is happening next month. Yeah, we are going to have it at the gazebo instead of the Adorning Center like we did last year. And so we have a lot of folks that are already reaching out to tables. So if you'd like to be a part of that, you can reach out to myself. Also, we got some upsetting news that Empire Rehab is, the detox is possibly going to be closing. So that's such a big red flag for us in the SUD detox world because I send a lot of folks
Where is that?
in Reddit.
Oh,
Yeah. So we're really, sad about that, and trying to figure out where we're going to, be sending folks.
Do we know why they're potentially closing?
They say several things. I didn't really get a straight answer when I was trying. It's like funding, staffing, lack of community support. I don't know. So it was originally, they weren't sure. And then I got the final, we're doing it, we're closing. So
and About how many people do you send there, would you say?
I'd say about 20 a month.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's pretty considerable.
It's
Yeah.
really hard to
Yeah,
get in locally.
that's why we're really working, moving forward, and I'm glad that, you know, we're moving forward with the new detox. We need something locally, and right now waterfront is going to be the only one. So, yeah.
And our next planning meeting for recovery happens is today at 4:30. And also I wanted to mention, Kamal sent me a message. They have a house for women. It's sober living with all the tribal additives, I guess, you know,
For women's?
it's a women's program that they have, you know, like, sorry, my brain just. It brings back people back to their roots.
Ceremonies.
Ceremonies, sorry, there you go. That has, I think he said 5 empty beds for sober livings. If you guys need that number, I can send it to Michelle.
Do you know if it's open for any, is it Native
for
American
tribal?
specific, but do they have to be Lupa or can they be any tribe?
I believe it is any.
Okay.
I know for sure Hoopa, but I believe it's any.
Okay.
And also Bear River has recently opened, some female beds as well. And they also have two male beds at, come on. Just
Is it for children? Oh, sorry.
No.
just women.
Okay,
At this time, I think they're working on this,
okay, thank you.
just for people that
Can you send that information?
I will. I got you. Yep.
All right. Committee update, thank you.
You're welcome.
At this time, we have executive committee, no other committees, so. Chairman, vice chair. Oh, vice chair can make a report now.
Well, it's funny because I just handed off CIT to her, so now she's like.
All right, I have nothing at this time. We can move on to unfinished business. Navigation center, you covered. Airport, you pretty much said, yeah. Doing that. And crisis triage centers, anything new on that?
So move forward.
Okay. I feel like it would be awesome to have an ongoing chart of these things are coming out on this, at this time, because it helps us remain hopeful knowing that we have these awesome things that are happening. Future items, does anybody have any future items they want to see on the agenda?
I'm curious about the suicide prevention efforts, and, I don't know when the last time there was a report of that.
Okay,
Admittedly, I may have not been here for the. Did anyone recall when there was last some information about that program? The suicide and violence prevention program was listed in here as being funded by MHSA.
Oh, it's the public.
Public health.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember, definitely not in the last year.
They're having, yeah, they have regular prevention meetings that I think are monthly.
Yeah.
One that just came in recently, I got an email. Yeah, I haven't.
I get the emails too, but it's at a time when I'm not able
Right.
to join, but I don't know if there's interest from this group in hearing a report about what they're working on, but I would find it valuable, especially since it's currently funded by MHSA and it seems like with changes, we, just be good to understand how better.
Thank you, put that on the list, anything else?
Don't we have people lined up for the next 3 meetings to do presentation? I should remember, but I
We
don't.
do, we're good through, we don't meet in August. We've got, June and July. Yes. Okay, really?
I think we were gonna reach out to Kelly Schwartz for September. Yeah, sorry.
All right, well, with that. Can you even believe it? 13:33, we adjourn this meeting. Thank you all for your work, your good work, your good spirit and attitudes. Much appreciated.